which decade had the best R&B? That's interesting.
That's easy. That's the 90s.
You said the 90s?
R&B for
Yeah,
sure. For sure, the 90s. For
bro.
sure. We had Keith Sweat. We had Silk. We had, come on, R.
Oh,
Kelly. We
my
had
bad. My
Mariah
bad.
Carey.
My bad. I'm bugging. My bad. I'm bugging. This is popular opinions. I didn't give you no options, right? So, one in the 80s, two 90s, three 2000s, four 2010s.
I'm still
They
going with the.
they saying 90 in the chat. 90s in the chat.
I'm still going with the 90s. The 90s was just. You can't even repeat that shit. Niggas don't be singing in the rain no more. Niggas don't be singing with their back to the wall and holding up air and shit. Niggas ain't passionate no more and shit. You know what I'm saying? That's right. They had R. Kelly, Usher, Genuine, Boys to Men, Jodeci. Shout out to Monica, 112. Yo, it was just, bro, it was hit after hit after hit after hit from many, many artists. Everybody was on their bag in the 90s. You know what I'm saying?
And I mean, I'll say this. I'll say this. The 80s had the best R&B, in my opinion, right? But the 90s probably resonated the most because it gave you a chance just to be like, just to feel. Like the 80s was like R&B, like heaven, because you talk about Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston. I mean, there's just so many artists like Ray Parker Jr., Bobby Brown. I mean, it's so many. Like I put it like this: like the '80s R&B made you believe that you could fall in love.
Mm-hmm.
'90s R&B, it was like, yo, like we could fall in love or we could get it popping. Like you pick, like you know what I'm saying? Like it gave you options. But if I'm listening to R&B, what decade am I going to first? I'm going to say 90s, mainly because of Kells and all the people that they saying in the chat. Monica, shout out to Monica, shout out to King, uh, in the chat. Jodeci and but the 80s R&B you can't sleep on. You're like Keith Sweat, like what was the other dude? What you call him's pops? I know he says Diddy is his father, but his real biological father is dang, I'll be sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be sure. So I mean, that's my opinion though. That's my opinion. 80s R&B made you fall in love. 90s R&B was like, yeah, I know she cheating. I'm gonna go do my thing. I'm gonna let her go do her thing, and it's whatever. You know what I'm saying? But if you want to fall in love, we could fall in love. You know what I'm saying? But let's not forget that you get chicks like Adina Howard in the '90s too, where she was like, I could be a freak all day and night to the early morning, and it's like, oh what?
Mm-hmm.
So you know what I mean? But the rest of the world, they went with '90s R&B at 70%. Damn, damn.
I wasn't playing.
That wasn't even close.
Cause I like not to disrespect or discredit the 80s, but I grew up with the 90s music. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like that's what I grew up on, and it was just constant. And then on top of that, it was how the music was being given to us now. You know what I'm saying? The 80s was, I would say, a little bit, well, I wasn't even around in the 80s to really know for sure, but it's just growing up and then going back and looking how shit music was being distributed as far as like music videos and how shit was going. That's when we had MTV, that's when we had BET, we had VH1, and all these niggas was playing all the music videos, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So niggas had it coming to us in many different ways, pause and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because
So
when I think of the 80s R&B, I think of singular. I'll think of groups, and I think of a plethora of artists. Like in the 90s, you may have had about 20 different top tier acts that gave you 2, 3, 4 albums, right? In the 90s. In the 80s, you probably had 60 artists, but give you like a good album though, like a fire album. Like when I think of groups like Loose Ends, I think of Atlantic Star, Midnight Star, Ready for the World. Um, it's so many that I can't even name off the top of my head. Like that R&B sound, a lot of the hip hop, like big songs today, that's from the 90s. They sampled them R&B songs from the 80s. Um, like that "Who Do You Love" by
Total and LL Cool J.
Cool J. That's an original 80s joint that still hits to this day. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot. And then I'm bugging. You got damn these dudes, Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, and Mike. If I love the girl, who kid who you like? You know what I'm talking about. BBD, Bobby Brown, Ralph Tresman.
What's that? Damn, can't remember the name of that group and shit.
Um, damn, and what you call them too? Johnny Gill. When they was all in one group. Um, I know y'all probably like at home like, yo, come on, how you forget such and such name? I can't think of it right now. I'm sorry, y'all.
Yeah, it's all off the top of, you know what I'm saying? All of the top off the top of the mental right now.
I'm gonna have to look it up because I don't want to get killed on a rewatch. Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, and Mike. New edition. It was new edition. New edition. So you had a lot of dope fire groups in the 80s as well. That's what I'm saying. Like that 80s music make you believe that you could actually fall in love. But that 90s, it was about getting it popping. It was about setting that mood. It's like, yo, you have yo, it's so crazy, right? In the 90s, you have boys to men who was like, they'll come out in the suits. They they the type of singers like your moms would like to hear, like, yo, they could really sing. They come out dancing and shit. Boys of
Mm-hmm.
men back again. Then you got Jodeci who come out with the leather Timbos, you know what I'm saying? Shirt all unbuttoned and everything with the baby oil, you know what I'm saying? And just singing, like no dancing, just straight singing. And it was like good versus evil type of thing, you know? So it was just like real dope. And I ain't going front. Young Usher in the 90s, he was elite. Young Usher in the 90s was elite. You know what I'm saying? So that's that's dope. I ain't mad at that. 90s R&B, 80s R&B, you know what I'm saying? I ain't mad at that. But I will tell you one thing. 2010 R&B is ass. 2000 R&B is and
It was
so
it was starting to decline a little bit in the 2000s. It was still good, but then once
eh.
you start in 2010, right there, 2010, I'll say about 2008, it was starting to go down. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Early 2000s, you still had some hit. You still had A. Marie, you had Alicia Keys, you had
They cool.
what you
They
call Bobby V, the Dream. Well, I wouldn't say the Dream was R&B. Nah, I wouldn't say the Dream was R&B. You
He
had
he he would say he's R&B, but he always felt pop to me.
nah, he wasn't R&B. He wasn't R&B. You had
I mean,
Chris Brown.
you had
Well,
some, you had some dope
yeah,
ones.
we had
That,
some dope in the early 2000s,
yeah,
but by like '08,
it was
'09,
it was a
it
rap.
was a wrap. It was
It was
over.
it was a rap. Yeah, that's a fact. I say that. I agree with you on that. All right, so cool.